My name is Russell Sparkman, and I live here in Langley, and I have a multimedia business called Fusion Spark Media. My presentation today is the new media content frontier. And what I'm going to talk about is the aspects related to the use of everything that we've just heard previous by nonprofits, non-governmental organizations, and government agencies. I want to start by providing some context. We got started in what we do now by creating something in 1999-2000 timeframe called One World Journeys, and it was an online visual storytelling experience. Some of the important aspects that are relevant to what I want to talk about today is that it was original web-based storytelling. We didn't create it originally for TV and repurpose it to the web. It was original web-based visual documentary storytelling. It was funded, it was underwritten by a cause-related marketing initiative of a corporation. At its heyday, we were getting about 30,000 unique visitors per month. And this was all about 48 years before there was anything called a YouTube or a Facebook or a Twitter. So what were some of the important aspects of how we were getting some audience, some eyeballs for this? Well, especially in the days that we were doing this, it was still very pioneering, very new. So we were getting lots of best site accolades, things like Yahoo Site of the Day. Of course, that generated inbound links, that generated more peer-to-peer awareness, and those things all led to good organic search engine rankings, high search engine rankings for the projects that we created. So after doing that for about 2 years, we had an opportunity for the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to help them with an awareness initiative they had that had to do with Florida's freshwater springs. And what I'm showing here is actually a screen capture for just a couple of days ago of what the DEP has on their own website about Florida Springs. And it's not much change from 7 years ago when we did this project, which we were able to convince them, let's do a compelling visual storytelling, visual documentary experience about Florida Springs to help draw in audience awareness of this project. So we ended up doing, much like we did with One World Journeys, we did the visual documentation experience. We were broadcasting live from the field back to a home team. They were producing flash movies and photo galleries and audio galleries. This was in 2002. We augmented that visual photo documentary storytelling with animated infographics. We also augmented it with educational resources to help provide content to bring this into the classroom, such as the lesson plans that you see here. We put a lot of time and a lot of thought and a lot of effort into creating quality content, and as a result of that, for the past 7 years, for all Florida Springs relevant keywords, floridasprings.org has been the #1 site on Google searches for 7 years, and that's with virtually no new content updates. In aggregate, we've had about 700,000 visitors to the site. It's very much a niche site. Thousands of downloads of the lesson plans. Zero, big fat goose egg zero marketing dollars spent. Not by our choice. We've encouraged them to try to market it, but there were enough metrics for the DEP, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, to feel it a success, and we've done 6 additional projects in Florida using largely a lot of the same approaches. So what did we learn from this experience? What did we gain from this? And what's of value to share with an audience such as yourselves? Content matters. And I think one of the nuances that I like to bring to this is that particularly when you're talking about communications for nonprofits, NGOs, certain government agencies, content that inspires hearts, informs minds, and influences actions. So now I want to break that down a little bit and explain what each of those steps means. Some storytelling essentials for NPOs include authenticity, real people doing real things, and not to be confused with reality TV, but an emotionally compelling TV, storytelling. And then finally, all of this wrapped up in multimedia presentations of visuals, photos, video, illustrations, audio, text, motion graphics, typography. In terms of informing minds, when you create this type of compelling storytelling online, because it is the internet, because it's not paper and it's not flat, and you have interactivity, you can always augment and you can contextualize stories with relevant data. And what's really fun about that is that you can build, like I showed with the Florida example, animated infographics. You can add or you can help tell your story through map-based interfaces. Mashups of data, and if mashups is new to you, look at programmableweb.com, and you get a good example of what that means. Cross-linking stories with data, and offering graphical interfaces for deep databases. So that's informing. So we move from inspiring and informing to influencing actions, because at the end of the day, we need this content to influence some type of action. It might be return on investment, or it could be return on objective. Certainly for MPOs, for example, content that influences people to make online donations, content that helps recruitment of volunteers, sign up for e-newsletters, all of those are extremely very important actions you want to influence with this content. And I want to emphasize inspiring storytelling. Content comes before social media. So it's very important that we think of the inspiring content as giving your audience something to talk about, so that the inspiring content leads to social media engagement. So Facebook, MySpace, Twitter, blog posts, meetups, tweet-ups, user-generated content, and whatever else is coming down the pike. So my prediction is that by 2012, we'll see storytelling becoming much more commonplace across a wide range of nonprofit organization, NGO, and government agency websites. Custom content will drive social network engagement even more than it may now. There will, of course, be increased user-generated content. We've seen, for example, just how easy it is for people to make and distribute images. For the photographers and the videographers and the writers in the crowd, I truly believe that we're going to see increased reliance on professionally generated content. And that these non-traditional publishers, the NPOs, NGOs, government agencies, will become major providers of multimedia content, and in fact, perhaps even being leading creators of multimedia storytelling and journalism. Now, there's an interesting aspect of this that on a very large sort of global scale is fun to think about. In his book, Blessed Unrest, Paul Hawken estimates that there are about 1 million plus, he estimates just a little bit more than 1 million, but he also says that's probably a big underestimate, that is possibly around the world as many as 2 million NPOs. In aggregate, what's happened is that all of these NPOs represent the single largest social movement ever in the world. They're typically organized around things, for example, war, poverty, deforestation, or pollution, but also they're organized around the arts and health, education, care for the elderly, what have you. So what happens when these organizations start to become publishers, start to create vast amounts of really compelling multimedia content? I believe that what we will see, what we're really on the cusp or the beginnings of, is the largest audiovisual documentation of the human condition and the environment ever created. Thank you.